Okay, now we want to learn a little bit about type 2 kind of speed question. So we have two types. So I put it into 2A and 2B. So 2A, questions involving one object, and then we want to find the average speed. Okay, let's say this question. A motorist traveled for 2 hours at 95 kilometers per hour. He then traveled for another 3 hours at 70 kilometers per hour. Find the average speed for the whole journey. So of course we must first of all have this DST triangle for reference. And then we have a line diagram to put everything inside. So first part of the journey, 2 hours is our time. Speed is 95 kilometer per hour. Okay, you notice that I write down the T, I write down the S, I write down D equals to what, so that I can make reference to this. Okay, time is 2 hours, speed is 95, so I multiply, then I get my distance. Similarly, for the second part of the journey, we have time 3 hours, speed 70, so again we can find the distance. So usually you have 2 out of 3 of this to apply to the DST triangle. So first, we find the total distance. 2 times 95, we get 190 for first part of the journey. 3 times 70 equals to 210. So total, we have 400 kilometer. So we want to find the average speed. Average speed equals to total distance divided by total time. So we need to find the total time, which is 2 hours plus 3 hours. Then we can solve the question. 400 kilometer per hour, is it 400 kilometer divided by 5 hours, we get 80 kilometer per hour is our average speed. So this is the first type of type 2. So we have the second type. Okay, so we have the type 2B, questions involving one object but two parts of the distance. So for example, Mr. Lee jogged at the speed of 7 kilometers per hour from his home to the park. And then he make a U-turn, he come back home along the same route at 5 kilometers per hour. Total time for him to jog to the park and come back home is 60 minutes, the round trip. How long did he take to jog from the park back home, the second part of the journey? So usually this is what we do. Okay, we home to the park, we put down the information 7 kilometers per hour. Then from the park back home, 5 kilometers per hour. Total time 60 minutes. You realize that we cannot apply the DST triangle here because we don't have the specific time for each leg of the journey, right? We don't know how long he took from home to park and park to home, okay, which is actually the question. So we can't use the DST triangle to find distance. So in this case, we don't need to know the distance. Okay, so what can we do? So think of it this way. This is because they have is along the same route. The distance is the same from the home to the park and park back home. The distance is constant. So we can think of it this way. The higher speed you travel, the less time you will take, right? So he traveled at a faster speed from the home to park, right? So he will take lesser time for this part of the journey compared to when he come back home. He come back home from the park to home at a slower speed. So slower speed meaning he have to spend a longer time along the same uh, route. So think of it this way: the higher speed you have, meaning the less time you take. The higher speed equals to less time taken. So this is what we call the reverse ratio of time and speed. Their relationship is the opposite. So speed to park to the speed to home is 7 to 5. So meaning my time taken to come back will be longer than the time taken from to go to the park. So this is the time taken for the whole journey. 5 you need to go to the park, 7 you need to come back home. So 5 you need to go to the park, 7 you need to come back home. Total I will spend 60 minutes, which is 12 units. So I want to find out how much did he spend on the way home. So this is 7 units. So 7 out of 12 times 60 minutes equals to 35 minutes. Or you can find 1 unit first, then you times 7 units also can. Okay. Okay, there's another method, another way to think about this question is by ratio. Again, just take a look. Okay, so the first part of the journey, 7 kilometer per hour, meaning for every 7 kilometer in 1 hour. Come back home in 1 hour, I can travel 5 kilometer only. But the thing is, this is the same journey, the same route. So the distance from home to park and coming back from park to home is actually the same route here. So what this means is, let me change this to highlighter. Okay, so again, this is the same route. So what this means is, this is actually the same distance from park to home and home to park. So I need to make this 7 and the 5 to become the same distance. So how do I make 7 and 5 to become same distance? 7 times 5 and 5 times 7. Okay, so this becomes my same distance now, because from park to home and home to park is the same distance. So meaning, if this is my distance, I would spend 5 units of time to go to the park from home. And then from park to come back home, I will need to spend 7 units of time. So again, this is the reverse ratio for the speed and time. So you can see that I spend 5 units of time to go to the park and 7 units of time to come back home. So total unit taken will be 12 units. And then the time taken will be 7 out of 12 times 60 minutes equals to 35 minutes. Okay.